Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we discuss the true end of Horus Lupercal. A spoiler warning to begin, as today we will be referencing events from the Warhammer 40k Horus Heresy novel story, Slaves to Darkness, by author John French. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so from the moment of Horus's fall and corruption upon Davin, he of course was on a one-way path to damnation. The claws of chaos sunk deep into the Warmaster's skin and soul. Yet such was Horus's resolve. Such was his determination. Though he had been corrupted by chaos, he still refused to yield to the gods. At least a part of him did, believing himself master of them. Even after entering the warp upon Malek, confronting the Four and leading their armies for millennia, accepting their gifts, still Horus believed himself master, still refused to yield. At least so he claimed, with the power and influence of chaos clearly growing within the Warmaster. But then would come his confrontation with Leman Russ, the Wolf King determined to fulfill his role as executioner, feeling the need to face his first found brother once again, would lead his entire legion on a raid against the Sons of Horus, and the Wolves would perform a suicidal charge into the heart of Horus's fleet, enacting a lightning boarding assault upon the vengeful spirit, fighting their way through its halls and corridors, until Russ would face his brother Horus once again. Forever one of my favourite moments in the lore of all time. Despite the odds stacked against him, despite Horus corrupted by the ruinous powers, Russ would plunge the Emperor's spear into the Warmaster's side after a titanic duel, where the Emperor's power would seemingly take effect. Though Horus would remain steadfast to his course of action, it was clear the wound had left its mark, with Horus later privately lamenting the blood spilled within the war. And the wound would continue to plague him, with it reopening during the war for Beta Garmon, causing huge issues for the Warmaster, ultimately forcing him to fall into a coma, as seen within the novel Slaves to Darkness. And we get a real great bit of insight into how effective the wound landed by Russ had been from the words of the Urizen Lorgar. I think that he is both too weak and too strong, my son. Too strong to submit to the full will of the gods. That is why he sits on his throne, like a corpse at his own court. That is why the wound done to him by Russ bleeds. He is anointed of the gods. They have blessed and exalted him higher than any other, higher than even I, their most devoted servant. They have given him the keys to existence, and yet he does not embrace them. He puts himself above them, and he is strong enough to resist, but not strong enough to triumph. The gods have given him power beyond anything they have bestowed on another, yet he fights it. He resists the gods' favour, even as they lift him up. Now, we do have to keep in mind here, Lorgar is seeking to replace Horus as head of the Chaos War efforts, so there is a little bias in his opinion. However, his words do reveal that ongoing conflict within the Warmaster. One, in my opinion, really exacerbated by the blow that Russ had delivered. The reason why the wound was still bleeding. Why Horus now had fallen into a coma. And to compound this problem, according to the words of Chaos at least, there was still a portion of Horus's soul within the warp, a part that somehow did not fully return at Malek. This part, found by Malagurst after conducting a ritual to enter the warp, was still fighting the demons, intent, in this Horus's own words, on breaking this realm of the gods, making it bow to his will. Now again, the only source we really have for this is the words of a Chaos demon, so we do have to keep that in mind. But was this a part of Horus's soul that never returned at Malek? Or was it that part of Horus's soul that never submitted? The one perhaps revealed and strengthened by the power of the Emperor's spear? Maybe was it both? Somehow a portion of Horus's soul intentionally cut out or separated previously? Who knows? We truly don't. However, regardless, the key is what the demon Chaos informs Malagurst will happen if this part of Horus's soul keeps resisting. Horus will simply die. And it's a question to think about here, because I can't think of a single occasion Chaos has ever told the truth. Let's remember their version of the scattering was pretty much revealed to be a lie too. That in reality they worked through the perpetual Urda to enact it. Not the bold claim they made at the beginning that the Emperor had allowed the entire thing. Perhaps a clue to the truth could be found in Malagurst's next encounter with this aspect of Horus's soul, found fittingly on a version of Ulanor. "Sire," he said softly, without looking around. "Mal." "Yes, sire," he said. He was still looking out at the black distance. "I knew you would come." "Did you, sire?" The wind filled the pools. "No." "You need to come back," said Malagurst. Silence answered him. "The war, the Legion, everything you have set into motion, it is coming apart. The dream is dying." "I know. And yet you do nothing," said Malagurst. He felt the tiredness in the words. By all the oaths he had ever made, he was tired. "You do nothing." "I am fighting, Mal. I must win." "Fighting?" He shook his head, eyes closing. For a second, the gunfire-streaked gloom of the throne room on the Vengeful Spirit filled the blackness behind his eyelids. The main doors had been opened. Black figures were advancing. The flares of bolt rounds were bars of fire stretching between guns and targets. The Lupercal were running into the fire, their images blurred silhouettes. Malagurst opened his eyes. The Knight of Ulanor was there again, calm and still. "You are not fighting," he said, and turned. Horus stood next to him. His armour was white, and bore none of the marks or the heraldry that it had taken in the 13 years that had separated that night with the present. "You are losing, sire." And there we see the Horus that was. The white-armoured Horus Lupercal, Primarch of the Lunar Wolves, the first found, and the greatest of the Primarchs. The one true choice for Warmaster. Malagurst sees that representation of Horus's soul as losing, but that's not losing to Chaos. It's losing to that old part of himself. The Primarch, the man he used to be, the true Horus Lupercal. Or at least the one glimpsed in the moments after Russ's blow. The one turned to betrayal, opposed to the Emperor, but still a man. Again, we have to ask here, where would Chaos's argument lie? Is this resisting aspect of Horus's soul killing him? Or is it growing stronger? Is this appearance of it into Horus's old Lunar Wolf armor a sign that it's growing in strength? That the Emperor's blade has truly done its work? And of course it had to be upon Ulanor that his soul would go within, because that was the time he had that choice that led to all of this. That began the road to disaster, where the Emperor would leave the crusade, where he would leave him. "They lied, Mal," said Horus softly. "The Emperor, Malkador, Erebus, the gods, all of them, and more." He paused, and I ate the lies. In the face of one lie revealed, I just turned to another, and followed that lie until it led me in a circle. "You went beyond, sire. On Malek, you became. That is the trouble with power. The more of it you have, the more using it becomes everything. 1,000 steps, Mal. 10 times 10,000 steps taken from past to present. Each one taken so that the next would follow, but without ever looking back, without ever looking at whence you came." Horus turned from the view, and whether it had been hidden before, or whether it only existed now, Malagurst saw the blood that covered the War Master's white armour. Horus's eyes were hollow, fixed on something beyond what could be seen. His right hand was clamped over a wide wound in his side. Deep crimson pulsed between his fingers. "It was the wound, I think," said Horus. "Russ's bite. I felt it sink deep. I saw his face as the blow landed. In that moment, just for a moment, everything fell away. I could see Mal. I could see everything. I could see so much that blindness is all that it has left me. There is no future for our legion but shame. No honour to be given, because I burned it in this war. No matter what my father did, no matter what lies he told us, I am the hand of my own fate. I always have been." On the edge of the horizon, the sun began to rise. The wind was growing stronger. Banners snapped on their poles. Malagurst thought he felt the ground shake. He could smell fire and ash. "I have thrown it to the flames, Mal." Horus's face was a mask of pain over a pit of rage. His image blurred as he spoke. There is nothing but ruin left of the dream, and nothing but ashes left of hope. And I have done this. I have wielded the storm and sown the future with corpses. And I can hear them. He raised his hand from the wound at his side. It was red, and they are laughing. "So you fight the powers of the warp as well as your father." "I defied one tyrant who would be a god," said Horus. His teeth were clenched between bloody lips. Behind him the sun was soaring, a burning orb hoisted into a sky that was blinding white. "I will not be a slave of false gods." A part of Horus here, realizing that he, and he alone, has ruined the Imperium, destroyed the dream, ended the future for humanity. This is the power of the Emperor's Spear. Because this is what Horus is speaking of here. The truth. The fact that he has ruined it all. That he is responsible for it. And that the gods are laughing at him. At it all. That this is the truth revealed to him. Was that declaration of false gods a sign that the old Horus within, the true Horus, was going to throw off the gods' corruption? Perhaps not an end to the heresy, but an end to the Chaos God's influence. Was the white sky and rising sun behind Horus here a symbolic sign of the hope returning? The strength of the old Lupercal soul building? And was this perhaps the Emperor's hope, by ensuring Russ took the spear with him to face the traitor Warmaster? It was after all Valdor who brought the spear to Russ aboard the Horafnical before he left the throne world. I think it undoubtedly was the Emperor's intent, and I think it's clear evidence of Chaos's lies to Malagurst. They didn't fear Horus dying, they feared they were losing their influence, that Horus's resistance was now growing stronger. The question, I guess, is, do you trust Chaos to tell the truth, or not? That Horus will ultimately die because of this resisting aspect that was left behind at Melek, or that the truth is actually that this part of Horus's restored soul was growing in strength, resisting Chaos, and that maybe he could have cast them out entirely. I know where my opinion would lie, but I'd be very interested to see what you guys think here. However, unfortunately, Malagurst heeded the words of the demon, preventing us from ever truly knowing the truth, as he would plunge a knife into the wound of Russ on this Horus's side, sacrificing his own life and seemingly shattering this part of Horus's soul, restoring Horus, the Warmaster, to the fully chaos-embraced man he was becoming, ending for good the true Lupercal within. But as always, everyone, what do you think? Was Horus going to die if that aspect of his soul kept resisting? Or was it yet another lie by the ruinous powers, desperate to counteract the blow delivered by Russ? The power of the Emperor's Spear, revealing and empowering the true soul of Horus within. Was that sign of him calling them false gods the revelation that he could have indeed won? Was it the death of the old Lupercal within, fully and finally, that enabled Chaos to ultimately get their way? As always, everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.